Hey you, it's Saturday here in Melbourne, and I thought I'd give you an update as I'm driving a little bit around the neighborhood where I'm in. So I'm in my rental car, and this is a car I've spent a long time in the last couple of days. So here's a quick update of what's been going on this week.
This is the Radio Vagabond podcast.
On Monday, I started my trip on the Great Ocean Road. It's stunningly beautiful landscape just west of Melbourne. And I decided to spend a couple of days doing that drive. I drove out and had my first night in a place called Apollo Bay. And I kind of had a plan of where I was going, and then at the hostel I stayed at in Apollo Bay, I met this Scottish couple, and they told me about a place that was a little bit further out than I'd actually planned to go to, called Port Fairy. So I made it out there, also stayed at the same hostel. They said I should speak to the woman who runs the place, more or less. Her name is Jennifer. So I went and I got to meet her. I met some other wonderful people, and also met some people on the day where I went to a famous lighthouse and into a beautiful trail. I met a couple from America. I met a couple from Canada. And then at night, I went to a random Italian restaurant for some pasta, and they were both there as well. So you get to meet a lot of people. They weren't staying at the hostel, but they just happened to be there. So all in all, 2 great days driving the Great Ocean Road. I would say 2 days is fine. Don't try to rush it too much if you're ever going to do it. I spent 2 days, and I recommend making one stop in Apollo Bay and then another stop all the way out in Port Fairy. I stayed at the hostels in both places. YHA, I believe it stands for Youth Hostel Australia, but it wasn't just young people. Old guys like me were there as well. And then I was making my way up to Pretty Pine that I talked about last week. I'll get back to Pretty Pine. It was quite a long drive up there, so I stopped halfway in a place called Ballarat. And I stayed at a hotel, and here's something that I want to share with you. And I hope that you will give me your honest feedback if it's me that's being a little bit picky. When I checked into this hotel, and this was a fairly big hotel, they also had a restaurant, they had a bar, and the check-in counter was actually a part of the bar. And when I checked in, this young man who took my details, he wrote down my driver's license number and all the stuff. It could have been my passport. And then he said, and can I have your credit card? I know that you already paid for it, but we just need the details for incidentals, I think it's called, where if I trash the room, they can take the money from me. So he wrote down my full name, my credit card number, the date, and the little 3-digit code that's on the back of the card. And I said, I really don't feel comfortable you writing that down on a piece of paper. You got all the stuff you need there to go and buy some stuff on Amazon or a plane ticket or whatever. I don't feel comfortable having that piece of paper in an unlocked cabinet here behind the bar. You have a lot of staff that knows it's there. You have a lot of staff that used to work for you that know it's there. And I know it's there. All the guests that have ever stayed at this hotel know that this little folder is filled with guests and their credit card details. And said, yeah, I know what you mean, and just kept writing and putting it in there and said, we won't keep it long and you can trust us. Yeah, but it's kind of not the point. The next day I spoke to the manager. I actually said to him, would you mind if I take a photo of your credit card, both sides of your credit card? I promise I won't use it for anything. And all he said was, yeah, I'm fine with doing that if I'm staying at a hotel. I said, but I don't feel good about it. I said, well, it's in your free will to say that you won't and then go stay somewhere else. Is it me that's being a little bit picky, or would you do that? I'd love to hear what you think of this. I went on the next day, but before I left Ballarat, I went to Sovereign Hills is what it's called. It's like an old town that used to be part of the gold rush. And it's so funny that I just did that after I put out the episode from Deadwood that was kind of the same situation in the US. And here it's in Ballarat, and it's a full town with a lot of staff wearing traditional clothes. You got a blacksmith, you have tours around. They tell you about the printing of the posters, and you have horse carriages going around. The kids can be in a school. There was a class. All the kids were dressed in traditional clothes, and they had a school teacher, and they can go and see if they can find gold, and it's all a very, very special experience in Ballarat, Sovereign Hills, and it made my day. And then at noon, I drove up to Pretty Pine to meet my friend Jason that I met 6 years ago in Bratislava in Slovakia. And actually also a friend of his, also from Pretty Pine, that had been there as well. His name is Trent. And when I met Jason, he was 25 or something like that, and he was single, and now he had a wife and he had 2 kids, around 31, 32 years old now. So I stayed at the Pretty Pine Hotel. That's a part of the Pretty Pine pub, and I got a beer with Jason and Trent and Trent's pregnant girlfriend, and yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful time, and great to see him again really in the middle of nowhere in Australia, in Pretty Pine, 400 kilometers north of Melbourne. Quite an experience, and it's so rewarding when you travel and you meet people and you make friends, and then you see them again a long time after. So yeah, and now I'm back in Melbourne. I'm staying here until Tuesday, and then I go to Sydney and spend my last 4 days in Sydney before I'm going on the cruise. So, quick update from Melbourne, Australia. My name is Palabo. I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond. Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.